Hi everybody, welcome. So you may have made this block before. You know what it is, it's the log cabin, right? And we've been making that here at So Uncommon during the month of May, and we've been making the variations. And you might want to know what some of those variations are. So in week 2, I shared one variation with you, and now that it's week 3, I'm going to share a third variation, and then at the middle of this week, like Wednesday or Thursday of this coming week, I'm even going to be sharing a fourth variation with you because these blocks are so fun to work with. And so if you're looking for those variations, and if you like to piece on your embroidery machine, because that's how we piece our quilt blocks here at So Uncommon, then you've chosen the right video to learn today's block, which is called the Courthouse Steps. Alrighty, so the Courthouse Steps is kind of interesting. Here's a little bit of history for you. The log cabin, the Courthouse Steps, all of these variations really started being popular here in the United States around our Civil War era. Okay. But there's a little bit of a back and forth on which came first, the log cabin or the Courthouse Steps. Some people say, oh, it was the Courthouse Steps. Some people say, oh, it was the log cabin, because the log cabin can also be called the Lincoln log cabin for President Abraham Lincoln from my state here in Illinois. I know he also grew up, I believe, in Kentucky as well, but we claim him here in Illinois. And so they also call this the Lincoln log cabin. So that could be first. The Courthouse Steps, of course, there used to be courthouses and courthouse squares in a lot of our small communities. We have one here in the community where I live in, where my folks grew up and where I was raised when I was very tiny. There's a courthouse square and a courthouse steps. I love them. Which came first? I suspect it was the log cabin, but I can't verify it, and it doesn't matter. Either way, they're great blocks to make. So let me flip my camera now over. Here we go. Now you can really see these beautiful squares. So with our log cabin, there are 2 variations of the log cabin. I called them cousins, but really I would prefer to call them twins because they are the exact same block, but one goes in the clockwise direction, one goes in the anti or counterclockwise direction. But when you make them separate like that, they make beautiful designs. Okay, so the log cabin was week 1. The log cabin variation or the twin was week 2. And now we're in week 3, and we're going to do this beautiful courthouse step. Now you saw with the log cabins, they move around. Half is dark, half is light. Traditionally, we do a red center because that is the hearth of the home, but you don't have to be stuck with that red center. If you want to do a different color center, you go for it. Do whatever color center you like. But they are typically half light, half dark. Now, you can do them all in variations of the same color. It is your block. You do what you want with it. You play with the color however you want. If you want to do it all scrappy, do it all scrappy. They're beautiful. There's so many variations. So go watch the week 1 video for more information on this one. But this idea that they go around in a circle, all right? Now, with the Courthouse Steps, it's a little bit different. Instead of going in a circle, we're going from the center. Now, the red center is not necessarily a traditional color for this block, but I really like a red center in these blocks, but I really like red. I have a friend who hates the color red and all the variations thereof. She would never put that in her square, and that's fine. She could put whatever she wants there, and so can you. But it starts with a center square and then moves out top and bottom, side to side, top and bottom, side to side, top and bottom, side to side. Okay? So you see stairs going this way and stairs going that way. Okay? Thus the courthouse and the stairs. So you could, because many courthouses were made of stone and the steps are stone, you could do that like even in a dark gray. That would be beautiful to represent that stone kind of a color. And then your steps. Now, log cabins have the dark and the light. You could do that same theme with your courthouse steps. You could do lights and darks. I chose in this one, and you'll see that in the part of the video where I demonstrate how this gets made, is that I chose to do a light, medium, and a dark, a light, medium, and a dark, light, medium, dark, light, medium, dark. Okay, but you could do 2 sections in lights and 2 sections in darks to get that half and half idea, kind of the way we do with the log cabin. You could do every single one of these in a different variation of color. You could do each quadrant differently. You could do this quadrant in a color family, this in another, and do 4 different color families. How cool would that look when you go to start putting these blocks together? Wouldn't that be awesome? Because you'd get all kinds of color, all kinds of, your secondary designs would pop out in all different kinds of color. That would just truly be lovely. So you can do all kinds of use your imagination for all kinds of color combinations with the Courthouse Step. So let's move over right now, and I'm going to show you your template, and we're going to stitch out a courthouse step. Okay, here we are now under the camera, and I'm going to show you the fabric and the template for our courthouse steps. So you can see the courthouse steps looks a great deal like the log cabin, right? Again, which came first, the log cabin or the courthouse steps? I don't know. We are saying that this is a variation of the log cabin, but it doesn't matter. But they're very similar. They were both started again at the very same time frame, right? So with this one though, you'll notice instead of starting here and going around and around and around and around, we start and we go top to bottom, side to side, top to bottom, side to side, top to bottom, side to side. Okay. Now, the nice thing about the courthouse steps is that you can really do a lot of fun things with the color. Today, we are going to do the same colors going in the vertical, so 3 through 11, 2 through 10, and a different color going 4 through 8 and 5 through 13. Okay, so we'll do 2 color families within this whole structure. However, you could do something really interesting. You could do 2 through 10 in one color family, 4 through 12 in another color family, 3 through 11 in a third, and 5 through 13 in a fourth, and get like 4 different color sections. So it could look really gorgeous that way. This block gives you a lot of space to play with color. If you are someone who really loves southwestern looking things, when you start putting these together, you get a very geometric southwestern looking idea if you use those beautiful southwestern desert colors. So you could do something like that, play with that layout. So I love that. Now, the one thing you'll notice here is there are 3 small squares right in the center. In the log cabin, we talked about traditionally the middle square was red for the hearth of the home, right? That could be done on this particular block, but just like the log cabin, it does not have to be. It is not traditionally done so. I am going to choose to do that center block in red just because I really like red and I like how it pops out in these blocks. But you don't have to be married to it at all. You could do something really neutral, whatever you prefer, okay? And then 2 and 3 are going to be the color scheme that I use for these 3 because I have 3 pieces coming out this way and this way. And if I did something different here, then I'd only have 2 on this color family. So I'm using the small ones as that third, okay? And of course, you can always use your template to check off your pieces as you go. Now, someone had asked me what pencil, you keep seeing this pencil I use. Seriously, folks, this is just a box of of inexpensive pencils that I bought at the office supply store. They're by Papermate. They are a number 2 lead, but they're mechanical, and I really like them. And they have a really nice eraser on the end of them. So if you were the one that asked, that's what I use. But of course, you can use anything you like. Now, let's move this aside and talk about our colors for a little bit. So I kind of have my colors laid out. I'm going to have this teal color family, light, medium, dark. And I'm going to have these yellowy golds, light, medium, and dark. And I'm using my red as my center. And I'm going from light out. So this one, the teal, is going to be, let's bring our template back in. The teal is going to be 2 through 10 and 3 through 11. And the golds will be 4 through 12 and 5 through 13. So I could take my handy dandy little pencil and mark these and say teal and yellow, teal and yellow, so that I don't get confused, since I'm doing a very specific color set of color families. However, if you're doing 4 different color families, then yes, by all means, mark them on here so you know. With our log cabin, we did a diagonal line so we know which half was light, which half was dark. If you were going to do that, if you were going to do 2 sides in a light and 2 sides in a dark, the way we did with the log cabin, to get kind of that half and half look, again, I would mark them. So maybe teal, teal, yellow, yellow, so I would know where I was going. And again, like with the log cabin, when you get to pieces 10, 11, 12, and 13, don't trim them at the end, because you're going to trim those off when you take everything out of the hoop, and you'll want enough fabric there to give yourself your seam allowance at the end. So these are my colors, and I'm going to start out with my little red one here. So now let's go over to our sewing machine, or to our embroidery machine. Gosh. You'll have to excuse me again, folks, these allergies. Earlier this morning, my voice was fine. Then I lost my voice completely. Now it's back, but you can tell it's a little wibbly. Alrighty, so over here, I've got the tools I need. I've got a good pair of scissors. I love my Karen K Buckleys. These are kind of the medium size. Normally, I also use the really small snip ones, but these are the ones I grabbed, which is fine. I've got my trusty little seam roller. And I've got my glue pen. This one is the Bowen by France. I will link at the end of this video the recent test video we did on the 3 types of glue sticks. Any fabric glue stick is fine. Bowen just happened to be the one that won out in all of my tests. So that's what I'm using. It's pink and it dries to clear. Some of the others were blue and dried to clear. Doesn't really matter what color they are. Now, I'm stitching out today in black. But again, the Isacord 0184, that really light dove gray, is my preferred color for piecing because it just blends in so beautifully. But I'm using the black today so you all can see it on here. And then I am using my wash away stabilizer. You could use poly mesh or you could use a lightweight muslin. Now I've stitched out my first box here. This is the size of my finished block. Now the next thing I'm going to do is stitch out the first placement piece for the square. Now if you're new to piecing in the hoop, here's the general rule. First piece of fabric always gets laid down right side up. Second and all subsequent pieces of fabric always get laid down right sides together. So that's easy. That's all you need to remember. Now, one thing I do like to do with my centerpiece, especially for the small ones, is I like to take my glue stick and give myself a little dot of glue right there, and then just plant my fabric right there and stick it down. That way I don't have to come in with my pointer. I know this is called something. Stiletto. Gosh, I could hardly even, oh, there's that. I don't take it off. I just leave that on there. But with my stiletto, I'm losing my mind today. or with my fingers, nothing. I just let it stitch down.
Motion detected at the G8V1GH01 23442
Sorry folks, that's our front door camera. Something just, either someone's at the door or my husband just came home. I don't know. Sorry about that interruption. All right, now I'm going to take this out, and you can you can see pretty good from there. I'm just going to bring it down a little bit. I'm going to trim around all 4 sides on this one. You don't have to measure it. Just eyeball it. Doesn't have to be a full 1/4 inch, anything like that. The nice thing about piecing with your embroidery machine is we get to break a little of the traditional rules. Knowing, I'm the kind of person that says, know the rules, and then feel free to know how to break them, right? So you know if you break them, if something goes wrong, you know you broke the rule, so you could expect it, right? Or if something goes right, yay. So my second and third pieces are going to be this little lightest teal color. And so I don't need to lay down my whole big piece. So I'm just going to cut myself a couple little blocks here. One for each side, for number 2 and number 3. So with my first one, number 2, as we can see here on the chart, goes on top. So it is the second piece. So second and all subsequent pieces get laid down right sides together. So I'm just laying it right over the top of my little red square. And we're going to stitch that down. And then you can use your glue stick or not. I like using the glue stick on these because you're dealing with smaller pieces. Again, it keeps your fingers out of the way, keeps everything nice and smooth. So let me a little bit more of that. There we go. And then I flip it and give it a little press. Now I just pressed it with my fingers, but I could take my little seam roller and give it a really good press there. The one thing I like about this bow and glue stick is I don't have to do the seam rolling. If I just did that with my fingers, it would be plenty to get that stuck down. One of the other glue sticks in the test, I had to always use the seam roller to get it to stay in place. Alrighty, so now we're going to trim this one. And this time, of course, we just have 3 sides to trim. There we go. Now I'm moving on to number 3, and I'm going to now check these off so that I know as I move around where I'm at. And what did I do with my other little piece of teal? Here we go. I'm going to lay that right on top, but going in the other direction because it is going to be block number 3, and we'll stitch that down. Great. Now, because I always tell you guys this because I know some of you like this information, this whole file takes 4 minutes to stitch out. Now it's probably going to take us a few extra minutes because I'm demoing and talking and walking you through it. But at 700 stitches a minute, you can stitch that out in 4 minutes. Pretty quick and easy to do a whole courthouse step that way, especially if you've planned ahead and you have your fabrics cut and ready to go. Alrighty, now we're going to come down and just trim this one. And then we're moving on to piece number 4. Now, I'm going to bring up the chart because I want to show you where we're at with this because we're doing a fabric change here. Oops, there we go. All right, so now we're moving on to number 4, which is over here. So I'm going to be laying my fabric right side down across these 3. You'll see in just a moment. But now I'm moving on to my left and right sides here. And my chart tells me I want to do those in the yellow. So I know I'm starting in the center with my lightest color yellow. Here we go. There's my lightest yellow. And I'm laying them right side down across. Now I just laid this whole piece down. To save fabric, I give myself a little, about 1/2 inch up here and then lay it down. That way when I trim it off, I probably have enough for the other side. We'll see. no use in wasting, because I will tell you, if you're like me, sometimes I give myself just enough fabric to get the job done, because I like to use up my scraps. But that's a nice thing too. If you're going to do the whole piece scrappy, then you can get away with using some really small pieces. All right, so I'm going to give myself a little glue line, and I'm going to flip, and we'll stitch that down. And I have myself a little sticker over here that says, do not fully trim 10 through 13. And I had it, but the sticky is running out on the back side of it. I should just tape it on there. Alrighty, so on this one, I'm going to trim 3 sides again. I'm a lefty, so you might trim in an opposite direction from what I am, but as a lefty, that's how that goes. Now I'm not cutting that all the way down because I want to save that piece. There we go. Now I can just trim this off, and guess where that's going to go? That's going to go in my little scrap bin that I showed you guys in one of my, I think it's in last week's vlog. I have my little scrap bin here for these. I'm going to pop that right in there. Why? Because we're going to be using these for a whole different piecing and quilting technique later in the year. So I've got that there. Now this piece, let's get this where it needs to be. Is it big enough to do our number 5? Because now we're going to move over to the other side. And I believe it is. Yep, it's perfectly sized. So now I can just lay that right side down, and we can do number 5. Because our left and right sides are, for me, are both going to be the yellows. That's the one thing with this. You have to get in your mind that you're not moving in that clock or anti-clockwise circle. You're doing side to side and up and down. That's why having your placement template can be really important to help you out with that. Alrighty. And so we're doing that. And so now I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I'm moving on to 6 and 7. 6 and 7 now are in my, whoops, let's put this so you can see it. 6 and 7 now are in my teal colors, and I've already done my lightest teal in number 2 and number 3, so I'm at my medium teal color here. So let me do a little trimming here. That little piece right there, right into my scrap box. In fact, I'll just leave that little scrap box open. Many years ago, Moda had these little kits called Frivels or something like that. Everything came in these nice little tins, and so I always keep these little tins for stuff. Makes things really nice and easy to organize. So now I'm on to my medium color in my teals, so that's going to be this fabric, and I'm going to lay it right side down because I'm doing the top piece first. That's number 6. We'll lay that on there, and there we go, and I'm going to check that off over there on my chart. Let's see, let's move that up just a little bit there. I think that might be a little better. And I'm going to give myself my little bit of glue. Turn that over. And we'll stitch this one down. And then we're going to move on from number 6 down here to number 7. We're still in a teal quadrant, so I know again I'm using the medium teal, and I should have enough fabric left over on this particular strip to go ahead and do piece number 7. And I'll have a little teal piece now that I can pop into my leftover box. I know those look small, but you'll see we will be using them. Don't throw them away. All right, so now number 7 is going to be down here, And yep, I've got plenty of fabric there. Okay. And now number 7 is being stitched. So I have a bunch of strips sitting over here. I've not put any of these into my leftover bin yet because they're all plenty big still to be used either on a courthouse step or a log cabin. They're from the very first block I did for the log cabin for you all. So those I'm saving. And then I just pile up my little bits of scrap here and throw those away because those are a little bit too small. Alrighty, now we're going to do our glue and flip. And that's number 7, and I'm checking it off. So now number 7. Now I'm moving on to number 8. And where am I? I'm back to my side, so I'm back to my yellow fabric. And number 8 and 9 for the yellow, that's the medium yellow. So we're going to be using the medium. We just finished with the medium teal. Now we'll use the medium yellow after we trim this. There we go. I'm going to pop that in my box there. Alrighty. So now I want my medium yellow, which is going to be this piece. Now this one, I don't think I'll have enough to do a second one, but I will show you here in a moment why I won't throw the leftover away, and I still want to make sure that I get as much use out of that yellow as I possibly can. I'll show you that in a second. A little bit of glue. I will be honest, I don't always use glue, but for these demos I like to show you guys the glue because I know a lot of you really like that technique, and I want to make sure you see how it's done, and I want to make sure that anybody who's new with us gets to see how it's done as well. Okay. And now we'll do a little trimming on this yellow, and we'll be doing the same color on the other side. Now I'm going to trim this one off. I'm going to set that right there for a moment, and then I'm going to trim this. That definitely goes in my scrap box. Now, this piece, obviously not big enough for this side, right? Plenty not big. But if I were using this color as my pieces here, plenty big, probably could be big enough if I were doing them there as well. So that is still a usable piece for a log cabin or for a courthouse step. So I'm keeping it. I'm not putting it in the scrap box, and I'm not throwing it away. So it can still be used. So we're not wasting. Now I'm going to bring in another one of my yellows for the other side. Same yellow, just a new strip. And again, I'm going to lay it down so that I have plenty for this strip, but that I can keep my leftovers for another block. What's that old phrase? Waste not, want not? Yeah. And so now we've done 8, and we're doing number 9. Now, the next one we're going to do is starting the 10, 11, 12, and 13 round. And what does that mean? It means do not fully trim 10 through 13. I wish you guys could be there to yell at me if I start to do it, because I will be honest, I mess that up a lot. I just get, this is what happens, right? I get in here and I really get going, and I forget where I am. Even though I'm using my chart, it doesn't compute in my brain where I am, and I just get going, and I end up messing up. Oh, and I just messed up this one. See? And we're going to redo it. You guys see what I did? I should have used this fabric Instead, I used that fabric, my light one, but that's okay. So I'm just going to come over to my machine, and I know I want to be on step 18 and 19. So I just put it back 2 steps, and now I'm going to come in here with my really good scissors. And another reason I love these, I can get in here and just stitch a snip. There we go. Snip these. And I'm just going to snip them off. I still can use this piece of fabric. I will just take a piece of tape and get all that thread out of there. And I will use it on another square. I'll re-iron it probably. Even though it had a little glue on it, the glue will have dried by now, and I can just reuse it. Not a waste at all. See, those things happen. Alrighty, so I will just take this piece now and undo this. The glue's all dried, well, partially, but I will take and just pull out those threads, re-iron that, and I'll use it later. This is the color that I wanted. This one right here, the medium. Alrighty, so I'll get rid of any little pieces here, clean up that a little bit. We're all good. No problem at all. Those things happen. Nobody is perfect, right? You guys know that's what I think. I don't even wish I were perfect, because when we look at things artistically, I know this from being a scientist, when we look at things, our eye is not drawn to the perfect. Our eye is drawn to what makes something different. You might call that a mistake, but really it's the part that makes your art the most interesting and the most beautiful, believe it or not. And so that's why I just don't get hung up on it. I just fix it and move on. All right, so now we have 8 and 9 done, and we're going to move on to 10 and 11. That's in our teal, and that's our darkest teal, which will be this one. Isn't that a beautiful fabric? Oh, I love that fabric. I've had it for a little while, and I just, when I get fabrics I love, I get enough of it, and I just use it in everything that I need that color in, because I just love it. And I don't mind that I have, now this piece I will save to use on another block, because it's perfectly big enough to use on, probably on a log cabin. And that piece I'll throw in my scrap bin. I don't mind that I have 4 or 5 or 6 quilts that have something like that in it. I love this so much. I love seeing it every time I look at it. So I'm good there. How are you guys with that? Are you like, no, I gotta do, I'm gonna lay this out. I'm not gonna try and do a whole lot of saving on this one, because I want plenty out on all of my sides here for when I trim everything out. Are you guys like, I just use the fabric on the one design that I do and move on? Or are you someone that likes to buy a little bit of bulk and then use it in everything? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments, because I'd love to know how you guys feel about that. Because you might get tired of seeing some of my quilts sometimes, because you'll see lots of the same fabrics. I love scrappy, and I love using my fabrics until they're all used up. Okay. Now I'm still going to get a little bit left over that I can use in other pieces. Now there's going to be one little square, I know. Maybe both of these will end up, edges will end up in the, by the time I cut them all, will end up in the box. I don't know. We'll see. Now, let me tell you what I mean about trimming on these, since this is the 10th one. On this one, because I still have something that's going to go on each side, I can trim here and here, but I don't want to trim out here, because I need that fabric for trimming this out of the stabilizer and having enough for my seam allowance. So I will go ahead and trim this one. Now that could be used for a small piece. I think, you know what? I think for these small pieces, I will throw those in the scrap bin. That way I'll have some slightly bigger pieces to use in this technique that we're going to do. So those, yeah, those can go in the scrap bin, no problem. Now, do not trim that part. And now on our next one, we're going to take that exact same fabric and we're going to do number 11 at the bottom. This is 10 and 11. Lay that out just like that. And stitch. So I'm going to take my chart and I want to check off 10 and I want to check off 11. Now you could do something kind of interesting here. You could do your outside 4 pieces all in the same fabric. So you have a courthouse step on the inside and then it's framed. Your outer piece is framing the whole thing. So if you were going to do that, we'll talk about that here. Let's stitch this down and then I'll pull this out and we'll talk about that, because you might want to choose a bolder print like this, or you might want to choose a whole different color family to do your framing, because if you frame this, then you're going to kind of end up with an automatic sashing. So let's look at this for a second. Here we go. So here we have our courthouse step for sure, right? But if I do all 4 sides in this print, it's going to frame the whole square. And that means that when I put all of my squares together, 1, I have to worry less about points and things like that. But 2, I end up with kind of an automatic sashing. So let's maybe think about giving that a try. So I will, I'm just going to trim off the sides here. I'm not going crazy. I'm not going to do this part out here, right? But I am going to trim off those and I will put that in the box. All right, so now I'm ready for 12 and 13. Those for me are going to go ahead and be in the darkest yellow, but I could do them and frame them all in one color. I like that idea. So I told you folks at the beginning of the video that I'm going to be doing a midweek video for you this week, which is going to be the last variation, because I don't want to do a whole new variation on our week 4 get together, because that's when we chat and have our questions and talk about project stuff and all of that. So here I'm putting down my gold. But I will for sure do another one of these that's bordered, so that you can see what it looks like all bordered. In fact, let me make myself a note. Do a bordered courthouse step. Okay, so I've got that written down on my little pad there, and we'll be good to go. I'm gonna run my glue stick, because I really felt like doing 2 blocks all in one day can be a little confusing, especially if you're new to piecing in the hoop. So we're doing just the courthouse step today, but midweek, either Wednesday or Thursday of this coming week, I will do that last variation for you and put out the supplemental information and design for you, like I said before. And in that video, I will show you one of these done with a bordered square. All right, so on this, ooh, see, I almost started cutting. On this, I don't want to cut anything because I need all of this for when I trim this out. But I'm going to take my other strip over here, lay that down. Let's see, hang on, there we go. Almost looked like my thread was going to come out of the needle. You know, even with automatic threaders, I hate rethreading. What do you guys think about rethreading? Is it one of those things that makes you a little nutso? It makes me nutso. I don't know why. I think because if I didn't have automatic threaders, I'd be dead in the water because I can't see tiny, tiny things like that anymore. I had perfect vision until about 16 years ago when I had cancer. And I was fine. It was We caught it early, all that good stuff. I've been healthy. I'm really healthy now. But the one thing that changed because of the kind of cancer I had, after my surgery, I woke up and I couldn't see clearly anymore. It was the weirdest thing. It was the morning after the surgery. I woke up. I could not see clearly to save me. So when my doctor came in, I told him, and he said, have your husband go and just pick you up some reading glasses at the drugstore. He said, I think your eyes have changed. He said, normally with this surgery, they can change within a year. I've never had anyone have them change the morning after, but it looks like that's what's happened to you. And I'm like, oh, great, I'm special. Anyway, that was a trial. So here we have it done. Now we're going to flip back over to our other camera. And I'm going to move my strips out of the way, and we're going to take this out of the hoop and trim it up. And so if I have to thread something manually, I am in a world of hurt. Now, for those of you who want to know about my hoop, someone asked me this week. I know I talked about it before, but for new folks, this is a 6x6 hoop. It fits brother and baby lock machines. I absolutely love it. It's my favorite piecing hoop because mostly my component pieces are 5x5 or smaller for the components of the bigger blocks. I don't know if other brands carry something similar or not, but you could certainly ask. It's just a great color. It's just a great size. Alrighty, so here is, oops, oh shoot. You know what I did? There's one last step where it comes around and stitches our box completely. I forgot to let that stitch out. I apologize. It'll be fine. This is just a sample for me, but it'll be okay. So I'm taking my 1/4 inch line and putting it on my stitched mark. And now I'm going to trim. Gosh, that's what, 2 boo-boos I've made today? It's because I have these stinking allergies. I'm just not thinking right. I'm so sorry. So you'll have one more step. It'll stitch all the way around. And what that does is it connects all these little pieces. I mean, this will be fine for this one, but make sure when you do yours that you do that finishing stitch around. That way everything is nicely connected and nothing's going to come apart for you. Grab my scissors. I just missed one little piece there. There we go. Now, these little pieces that come off the end like this, those can go, I don't know why I'm throwing those away. That one, no, but I have another one over here. Oh, I do. So these little pieces here, those can definitely go in your box. Oh, is somebody at the front door again? No, okay. I heard my little alarm thing go off. It's like Grand Central Station in here today. All right, we're gonna trim off our last side. Now, I'm not gonna keep that piece. That's a little too thin, even for me. Alrighty, so there we're done, and then you know I like to come in here, and I've learned to put my finger way back here because you guys saw me live and in person on video cut my finger quite badly a few weeks ago. But boy, even though I had stitches and all, I can see the scar there when I look at it, but it's all nicely healed now. So, and the weird thing was the cut looked like the edge of the pinking thing. It was wibbly. It was weird. And I didn't think when I cut it on the thing, I cut it very much. But afterwards, I had blood running down my arms. It was a lot deeper than I thought. All right, here is our courthouse step. So here is your courthouse. These are the steps on these 2 directions, and these are the steps on these 2 directions. So just like I told you before, the courthouse square in a lot of the older towns in our country had a courthouse square. The courthouse was in the middle, and then you had stairs that come up. The small town that my parents are from, and where I grew up for the first few years of my life, had a courthouse like this. I love them. I love Courthouse squares. I think they're great. And I love this block. Didn't it turn out pretty? Very, very pretty. All right, everybody. So that is our Courthouse Steps. Great block, right? Great variation on the log cabin. So remember, you can get your log cabin block at, let's see what, oh, sorry, I'm getting used to the new software. So you can get your log cabin block and your Courthouse Step blocks. The variation is also a free block to you this month at our website, sewincommon.com. And take that away. Okay. Got to get used to all this stuff, right? All the technology. So don't forget to get that there, or any of your block of the months for 2023. They're all there. They're all free this year. So if you need to contact me, of course, you can contact me in the comments, or you can contact me at support@sewincommon.com. And I will get your email and get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And usually that's pretty quick, because I usually try to get back to you within that same day, even if it's on a weekend. It might be a few hours on the weekend, but I do try to get back to you right away. And okay, yeah, I think those are the two things. And remember, if you want to check out our Facebook page and post some photographs of your blocks, the Facebook page is just Sew in Common, right? You know, we're not ultimately unique and different on each name. Why make you learn something more than once, right? So just Sew in Common. And remember, next week is the 4th week of May already. Can you believe it? So next weekend, because it is I think technically supposed to be Memorial Day weekend. It's still the 4th week of the month. But instead of doing a live, because I don't know how many of you will be around, because it is Memorial Day weekend, some of you may have plans with family and stuff, I'm going to do a pre-recorded video this 1 month, okay? Now, so what I need for you to do is this. If you have a question about any of our blocks from this month, the contest, anything you want to ask me, right? You know, I'm always up for anything. Send me those questions at the support@sewincommon.com, and I will answer those in the pre-recorded video, and I will share with you the project, because there is a project for you all this month, right? We've just done too many beautiful blocks not to do something with them, right? So contact me at sewincommon.com with your questions for next week. So next week, which is I believe the 25th of May, it is our 4th week of May. Normally that's a live and all of that, but because it is the celebrated Memorial Day weekend, I'm not going to expect anybody to show up, right? In fact, I don't even know if Dave and I would show up, because I think we might have something going on next weekend. I honestly don't know. We don't usually plan for those things. Memorial Day is kind of like, if something comes up at the last minute, we'll do it. But we don't have plans at the moment. But a lot of you may. So we're not going to do a live. We're going to do a pre-recorded, okay? It'll still come out right at midnight on the 25th, so you can watch it when you like, okay? But send me in those questions if you have them. And remember also that mid this week, so either Wednesday or Thursday, I will be putting out the final log cabin variation block, okay? So you'll have another one. There's another great one coming. Oh, these blocks are so great and so fun to work with. So that's coming, all right? So until then, everybody, have a great week. Have a great Memorial Day. I know we probably will actually head off to the cemetery maybe for a little bit, because Dave's father was an Air Force veteran, and give our respects, lay some flowers and stuff. So we probably will do that. But until next time, enjoy your week, enjoy your weekend, because here comes summer, and sew life beautiful. Bye for now, everybody.